welcome back to Prime Wealth. I'm Jordan, and today we've got a really exciting episode for you.
Yeah, hey everyone. Glad to be here.
So, today we're diving into something super important. How to create a bulletproof budget.
Exactly. Budgeting can feel overwhelming, especially if you've never really done it before.
Right? But it doesn't have to be. We're going to break it down into simple steps that anyone can follow.
Yeah, and we'll also talk about some common pitfalls to avoid, which is really crucial because, those little mistakes can add up.
Totally. And we'll share some tools and tips that can help you stay on track and, really make budgeting work for you.
Plus, we'll touch on how to adjust your budget as life changes. Unexpected expenses or maybe even new income streams.
Exactly. It's all about flexibility, right?
Absolutely. And remember, it's not just about cutting back, but also about making your money work for you.
Yes. So whether you're looking to save for retirement, plan a big trip, or just get a better handle on your finances, we've got you covered.
All right, let's get into it.
Yes, let's jump right in. So Alex, today we're diving into something that I think a lot of people over 40 really need to hear about, and that's creating a bulletproof budget.
Absolutely, Jordan. It's interesting. I've noticed that budgeting is often overlooked, especially when we hit that 40 mark and life gets more complicated.
Right? It's like all of a sudden we have kids going to college, or maybe we're helping aging parents, and it can feel overwhelming.
Exactly. And then there's the financial stress that comes with it. I mean, according to recent studies, over 60% of people in their 40s feel anxious about their financial situation.
Wow, that's a huge number. It's like we're all in the same boat, feeling that pressure.
Yeah, and it's not just about the daily expenses. It's also about preparing for the future. Retirement is just around the corner for many of us.
Oh, totally. And I think that's where budgeting becomes so crucial. I mean, if you're not keeping track, how can you even know if you're on the right path, right?
Exactly. And let's face it, life changes. Maybe you've been laid off, or maybe your expenses have increased unexpectedly.
Oh, I can relate to that. Just the other day, a friend of mine was telling me how her car broke down and, well, it ended up costing her a fortune.
That's a classic example. And those unexpected expenses can really derail your financial plan if you don't have a solid budget in place.
Yeah, and for folks over 40, it's not just about the now. It's also about the future. I mean, we're thinking about retirement, healthcare costs. It's a lot to consider.
Right, and studies show that people who budget effectively are more likely to feel secure about their financial future. There's this sense of control,
That makes total sense. When you have a plan, it's like you're steering the ship instead of just, drifting along.
Exactly. Plus, budgeting helps you prioritize your spending. Say you want to travel more, or maybe invest in your hobbies. Having that budget can help you allocate funds towards those goals.
Yeah, and it's not just about cutting back. It's also about finding ways to enjoy life while being smart with money.
Definitely. And think about it. Many people find themselves at a crossroads in their 40s. Maybe they're thinking of changing careers or starting a business.
Oh, I know a couple of people who've done that, but it's a risk, right? Without a budget, it could be a huge leap without a safety net.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to have a plan. Plus, life can throw curveballs, whether it's a health issue or, a sudden home repair.
Oh, I've been there. My roof needed repairs last winter, and it was like, surprise.
So having an emergency fund built into your budget is key. It's like a safety net that can catch you when life gets unpredictable.
Right. And I think for many people over 40, those unexpected costs can feel even more daunting. It can really affect your emotional well-being too.
Absolutely. Financial stress can lead to anxiety and even impact your relationships. It's important to tackle budgeting not just for your finances, but for your overall health.
That's such a great point. I remember reading about how financial worries can lead to sleepless nights.
Yes, people need to realize that budgeting can actually help alleviate those worries. It's about feeling empowered and taking charge of your financial future.
And it's never too late to start. I mean, even if you feel like you're behind, there's always room for improvement, right?
Exactly. The earlier you start budgeting, the better prepared you are for any situation. Plus, it can help you identify areas where you might be overspending.
I think a lot of folks don't even realize how much they're spending on small things that add up, like those daily coffee runs or subscriptions.
Yes, those little things can really sneak up on you. So once you have a handle on your budget, it's easier to cut back where you need to.
And then you can redirect that money to things that really matter, like that dream vacation or saving for retirement.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Being over 40 means you have wisdom and experience. You can use that to make more informed decisions about your money.
Oh, I love that. It's like turning your past experiences into a financial superpower.
Yes. And remember, budgeting isn't just about restriction. It's about freedom. It opens up possibilities and allows you to be intentional with your money.
That's such a positive way to look at it. So if budgeting is so important, where do we even start?
Well, Jordan, that's a great segue into our next section. Let's talk about some core strategies to create that bulletproof budget. So, when it comes to creating a bulletproof budget, I think the first step is really understanding your income and expenses, right?
Absolutely, Alex. It's like the foundation of your financial house. If you don't know what's coming in and going out, how can you build anything solid?
Exactly. So let's break it down. I usually recommend starting with a simple income statement. Just list all your sources of income. Salary, side hustles, maybe some investment earnings.
Yeah, and don't forget about any freelance work or passive income streams. Those can add up.
Right. And then, once you have that, you want to look at your expenses, which can get a bit tricky, huh?
Totally. Some expenses are fixed, like your mortgage or rent, and others are variable, like groceries or entertainment.
Yes. So what I often tell my clients is to track those expenses for a month or so. You can use an app or even just a simple notebook.
Yeah, I like that idea. It gives you a clear picture of your spending habits. But, some people might feel overwhelmed by that.
True, but it's all about breaking it down. Maybe start with the major categories like housing, food, transportation.
And then gradually dive deeper into each category, right? Like, once you have the big picture, you can see where you might be overspending.
Exactly. And once you have a good handle on your income and expenses, it's time to create that actual budget.
So, how do you suggest people go about structuring their budget?
One effective method is the 50/30/20th rule. Allocate 50% of your income to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings and debt repayment.
Ah, the classic rule. I love that one. It's simple and flexible.
Yes. And, if you find that 50% isn't enough for your needs, you can adjust it. Just keep the other two categories in mind.
Right. So it's about making it work for your unique situation. And what about those who have more complex financial situations, like debt?
Great question. If debt is a concern, I'd recommend treating it like a non-negotiable expense. Like rent.
Oh, that makes sense. So if you're allocating part of that 20% to savings, you should also be prioritizing debt repayment?
Exactly. You want to make sure you're not just putting off that debt. Maybe even create a separate line in your budget just for that.
So, if someone has credit card debt, they could allocate a specific amount every month to chip away at it?
Yes. And I suggest using the snowball or avalanche method for repayment. Snowball being paying off the smallest debts first to gain momentum, and avalanche being the highest interest rates first.
Both strategies have their pros and cons. It really depends on what motivates you more, right?
Exactly. And, as you're building this budget, it's essential to also have an emergency fund that's like your safety net.
Oh, for sure. I think having 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses saved up is a solid goal.
Yes. And it's important to consider that in your budget too. You might allocate a bit of your monthly savings towards building that fund until you reach your goal.
So to recap, we've got income, expenses, the 50/30/20th rule, debt repayment strategies, and building an emergency fund. That's a lot to think about.
It is. But remember, budgeting is a living document. You can adjust it as your life changes. Maybe you get a raise or have a new expense.
Right. And it's also about tracking your progress and holding yourself accountable.
Absolutely. Regularly reviewing your budget helps you stay on track. I usually suggest doing it monthly, maybe even quarterly, to see how you're doing overall.
And that can be a great time to reflect on your goals, too. Are you saving enough for retirement, planning for a vacation, or, whatever else is important to you?
Yes, and that brings us to tools. There are so many budgeting apps and spreadsheets out there to help you stay organized.
For sure. I've heard good things about apps like Mint or YNAB. They can connect to your bank accounts and track everything for you.
Exactly. They can really simplify the process. And for those who prefer a more hands-on approach, a good old-fashioned spreadsheet works too.
Right. It's all about what you're comfortable with. And what about tracking those variable expenses?
That's where it gets interesting. I always suggest setting a cap on discretionary spending, like dining out or entertainment.
So you might say, okay, I'll only spend $200 on eating out this month and stick to that.
Exactly. It's about discipline, but also allowing yourself some fun within those limits.
I love that balance. And, one of the common pitfalls people fall into is not sticking to their budget.
Yes, that's a big one. Life can get in the way, and unexpected expenses pop up.
Right. But that's why having that buffer in your budget is so important. It gives you some wiggle room.
Exactly. And remember, it's okay to adjust your budget as needed. Flexibility is key.
So to wrap up, budgeting isn't just about restricting yourself. It's about creating freedom and control over your financial future.
Well said, Jordan. And as we dive into the next segment, we can discuss those common pitfalls that can derail even the best budgets.
Yes, let's do it. So, Alex, today we're diving into the common pitfalls people face when trying to create a bulletproof budget. Budgeting can feel like this daunting task, right?
Absolutely, Jordan. It's like, people often think they have to be perfect at it from the get-go, but budgeting is really a learning process.
Right. And, what do you think is one of the biggest mistakes people make when they start budgeting?
Well, one of the most common pitfalls I see is underestimating expenses. People often forget about those irregular costs, like car maintenance or, that annual subscription they signed up for ages ago.
Oh, totally. I can relate to that. I once, totally forgot about my kids' school fees. And it hit me hard when it came around.
Exactly. It's those unexpected expenses that can really throw a wrench in the works. And, when people don't account for them, it can lead to, overspending and stress.
For sure. So how can someone recognize those danger signs before they, fall into that trap?
A good tip is to track your spending for a month or two before you actually create a budget. This way, you can see where your money is really going and identify those irregular expenses.
That makes so much sense. It's kind of like doing a mini audit on your finances, right?
Yes, exactly. And, another pitfall is setting unrealistic goals. People often aim too high, like saying, I'm going to save 50% of my income.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a lot. It's great to be ambitious, but if you're not realistic, you could end up feeling discouraged.
Right. And that discouragement can lead to giving up entirely. It's important to set achievable goals that fit your lifestyle.
So what's a more realistic approach then?
Well, starting small is key. Maybe aim to save 10% of your income initially, and then increase it as you get more comfortable.
Yeah, I could see how that would be way less overwhelming.
Definitely. And, another mistake people make is not reviewing their budget regularly. Life changes, expenses change.
Oh, for sure. What if you get a new job or your kids start going to college? Those things can totally shift your budget.
Exactly. It's crucial to review your budget at least quarterly, just to make sure it still aligns with your current situation.
That's such a good point. And what about, the emotional side of budgeting?
Ah, yes. Many people have an emotional attachment to their spending habits. They might splurge on something they love, like dining out or shopping, and then feel guilty afterwards.
Right. That guilt can really spiral into making poor financial decisions later on.
Exactly. It's about finding balance. Allowing yourself little treats within the budget can help ease that guilt and keep you motivated.
So maybe a fund or something, like a little money set aside for those splurges.
Yes, I love that idea. It keeps budgeting from feeling too restrictive.
And, speaking of restrictions, I think a lot of people feel like budgeting means they have to say no to everything.
That's such a common misconception. Budgeting is more about creating a plan for your money, so you can say yes to the things that really matter to you.
Oh, wow. That's such a healthier way to look at it.
Exactly. And then there's the danger of not involving your family in the budgeting process. If you're making decisions without input from your spouse or kids, it can lead to conflict.
Yeah, I can see that. Like if one person is trying to save and the other is, still spending like there's no tomorrow.
Right. Communication is key. It's important to have those family discussions about financial goals and budgeting. It builds understanding and teamwork.
So true. And I imagine it's a good way to teach kids about budgeting too, right?
Absolutely. Involving kids can help them learn valuable skills for the future. It's a win-win.
So let's talk about what to do if someone finds themselves deep in the budgeting pitfalls.
Sure. First, don't panic. Acknowledge the situation and assess where things went wrong. Sometimes it's just a matter of tweaking your approach.
That sounds really manageable.
Yeah, and then take a moment to reassess your goals. Maybe your priorities have changed, and that's okay.
So, like, if you realize you need to save for a big trip instead of that new car, you can adjust your budget accordingly?
Exactly. And remember, budgeting is a flexible tool. It's not set in stone.
That's so reassuring. Anything else people can do to recover?
Well, seeking support can be very helpful, whether it's talking to a financial advisor, joining a budgeting group, or even discussing it with friends.
I love that idea. It's like building a community around your financial goals.
Yes. And, it's also important to celebrate small wins. If you stick to your budget for a month, reward yourself. It keeps you motivated.
Oh, that's such a nice way to end on a high note.
Exactly. Just remember, budgeting is a journey, not a destination, and it's okay to learn and grow along the way.
Thanks, Alex. This has been super insightful. I feel like I can tackle my budget with a whole new perspective now. So, Alex, we've talked a lot about creating a bulletproof budget today. But what are some immediate actions folks can take, like right now?
Yeah, absolutely, Jordan. I think the first step is to just sit down and, take a good look at your current spending. Just grab a notebook or your favorite budgeting app.
Right. And for those who might not be super tech savvy, a good old-fashioned pen and paper can work wonders.
Exactly. Just jot down all your monthly expenses, things like rent, groceries, and subscriptions. The ones we forget about sometimes.
Oh, totally. Those sneaky subscriptions can really add up. So once they have their expenses written down, what's next?
Well, the next step is to categorize those expenses. Break them into fixed and variable expenses. Fixed expenses are like your rent or mortgage, and variable ones are things like dining out or entertainment.
Right. And keeping track of those helps you see where you might cut back if you need to.
Exactly. And after that, I suggest setting some financial goals. Like, short-term goals could be saving for a vacation, while long-term goals may be planning for retirement or paying off debt.
Goals really give you something to aim for, don't they?
Oh, for sure. It makes budgeting feel less like a chore and more like a plan for your future, which is exciting.
So once they have their goals in mind, how can they actually start budgeting?
A simple method to start is the 50/30/20th rule. You allocate 50% of your income to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings or debt repayment.
That's a really effective framework. But what if someone finds that, they're spending more than they should in one area?
That's a common situation. It's all about adjusting. If you realize you're spending too much on dining out, maybe set a goal for how many times a month you want to eat out and stick to it.
Yeah, that makes it feel more manageable. And what about tools or apps? Are there any you recommend?
Oh, definitely. Some popular apps are Mint, YNAB, You Need a Budget, and Every Dollar. They can help you track expenses and keep everything organized.
I've heard great things about YNAB. It's supposed to be really user-friendly, right?
Yeah, it is. And it encourages you to assign every dollar a job, which can help you become more intentional with your spending.
Love that. And for those who prefer books, are there any good reads you'd suggest?
Sure. The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey is a classic. It breaks down budgeting and debt repayment, and it's super motivational.
Oh, I've heard of that one. And there are others too, right?
Yeah, You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero is another great one. It's more about mindset, but ties in budgeting nicely.
Such good recommendations. Now, let's talk habits. What habits should people focus on building to maintain their budget?
Great question. First, I'd say track your spending regularly. Maybe set a weekly check-in to see how you're doing against your budget.
That's a good way to hold yourself accountable.
Absolutely. And another habit is to automate your savings. Set up automatic transfers to your savings account right after payday. That way, you're paying yourself first.
Oh, I love that. It's like out of sight, out of mind, right?
Exactly. And it makes it easier to stick to your budget because you're not tempted to spend that money.
So starting small is key then?
Yes. If the thought of budgeting feels overwhelming, just start with one small change. Maybe it's cutting back on takeout or setting up that automatic savings transfer.
And then build from there, right?
Exactly. It's all about progress, not perfection. Celebrate those small wins.
I love that approach. It really helps make budgeting feel more achievable.
Definitely. And remember, budgeting is a journey. It's not about being perfect. It's about being aware and making better choices over time.
Such a good reminder, Alex. I hope our listeners feel inspired to take these steps and start their budgeting journey today.
Absolutely, Jordan. Just take it one step at a time, and you'll be amazed at how much progress you can make.
So, for everyone listening, don't hesitate to dive in. Remember, every small step counts.
Yes, and if you have any questions or need more resources, feel free to reach out. We're here to help.
Thanks for sharing your wisdom today, Alex, and to our listeners, we'll catch you next time on Prime Wealth. Take care. Wow, Alex, what a great conversation we had today about creating a bulletproof budget. I think we really covered some solid ground.
Yeah, absolutely, Jordan. So let's recap a few key takeaways, right? First, I think the biggest one is starting with your income and fixed expenses. That gives you a clear picture of your financial landscape.
Right. And then the importance of tracking your spending. Like actually knowing where your money goes each month can be really eye-opening.
Exactly. And let's not forget about setting realistic goals. You know, whether it's saving for a vacation or paying off debt, having those goals makes budgeting feel more meaningful.
Totally. And then having that buffer for unexpected expenses. It's just so crucial, especially when life throws those little surprises at you, right?
Yes. And finally, reviewing and adjusting your budget regularly. Things change, so staying flexible is key to keeping that budget bulletproof.
Well said. And remember, folks, budgeting isn't just about cutting back. It's about making your money work for you and feeling more in control of your financial future.
Exactly. It's all about empowerment, right?
If you found today's episode helpful, please like, subscribe, and maybe drop a comment with your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you.
And don't forget to share this with someone who's over 40. Someone who could really use this advice.
Yes, definitely. And next time, we'll dive into the Ultimate Emergency Fund Guide, how much you really need. It's going to be a great discussion.
Looking forward to it.
Me too. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye, everyone.